Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Advocate Rahul Kumar Singh. We'll be discussing about intellectual property drafting. So in this video, we'll be discussing what is intellectual property law, what are its rights, what are its limitations, what are the dispute, what we should keep in mind to draft a intellectual property rights, you can say agreement, and it is in very much demand in this corporate world. So you can support me by subscribing, liking and sharing so that we can reach to the audience who require this. So intellectual property means your discovery, your invention which you have discovered, it is yours rights. So when somebody will use that, they have to pay certain things to use that. So you are granting permission, that is known as intellectual property rights. And we will know the scope, means what are the rights available, what is the limitations available, when dispute will come, who will resolve them. Okay, so you should consider some points using this while drafting this intellectual property rights drafting. So first is you should identify the parties and what will be their roles. Okay, so in intellectual property rights agreements, you should mention the parties who is given the permission to use that rights. That can be anything related to discovery of any medicine, okay, writing any books, that is linked to copyrights, whether you have discovered new discovery, that is known as patent. So who will use that, their names must be given to identify which parties you are allowing, so that they can use your discovery, that is known as intellectual property. Okay, so what are their obligations? So all that must be mentioned in point number 1. In point number 2, you should define the scope of this intellectual property rights. Means whether that is for patent or trademarks or copyrights or trade secrets. So that's all is the scope. Means on which basis that your discovery can be used. That is known as defining scope of intellectual property rights. In the third criteria, you need to define the ownership and assignments. Means who owns, what is the name of the owner, that must be given in that agreement. Means who is the owner, so that the person is granting permission to someone in the name of intellectual property, and that can be used in the name of contractual terms as well as what can be transferred. So this is in point number 3. In point number 4, you should define the license agreement. Means you should define the terms. Okay, terms can be like for how long, whether for 6 months, 1 month, how much you are allowing to use your intellect or in intellectual property. Means in geographic scope, means in which area, in India or abroad. So that must be mentioned. As I mentioned, the duration must be mentioned for how long time period, that is for 1 year or 6 months or for 5 years. So in a license agreement, all these things must be mentioned so that we could avoid the conflicts. Okay, then in point number 5, you should mention the confidentiality and non-disclosure. Means obviously you are using somebody's intellectual property, means you should keep the confident. This information must be kept confidential, as because this is sensitive information, so you cannot leak that information so that other people will know and they can thief the data. So that we should keep the confidential and non-disclosure, means we should not disclose the internal information to the outside world. This is in point number 5. In point number 6, there is restrictions and limitations. So you are using the intellectual property rights and you are restricting the duration and in which area your intellect will be used by the other person to whom you are granting information. That restrictions and limitations must be there. Okay, now we are coming to remedies for infringement. In point number 7 is that consequences of intellectual property rights must be kept in mind. So remedies means what are the rights available by which we can claim, or by which we can ask for that, so that we can enforce the right if it is in violation. Okay, in point number 8, we will be discussing about dispute resolution. Dispute resolution means how will you resolve the dispute of intellectual property rights, whether it is through arbitration or mediation method, that needs to be mentioned. So whether you are resolving the dispute through arbitration or by mediation, that needs to be mentioned, so that if any dispute arises, how that dispute will be resolved. Okay, in point number 9, we will be discussing termination. Termination means if you want to exit the intellectual property agreement, how you can exit. Okay, so that must be said. So you should mention that the termination can be agreed mutually, or one person can give how many days notice to exit the agreement. That must be mentioned in the termination clause. Okay, that in point number 9. In point number 10, we are coming to warranty and identification. Warranties means there is certain protection given to the intellectual property holders. If someone violates, then what are the compensations? So that one must be mentioned in the name of warranties and INT. You can say the indemnification for the person who violates must to pay that amount for in the name of liabilities. Okay. Now we are coming to the point number 11, that which laws will govern the jurisdiction. Okay. So the laws which will govern the contracts will resolve the disputes, and the laws will govern the law as per the copyright, trademarks, or intellectual property, so that the intellect is protected. Okay, and now we'll review and update it. So in point number 11, you should review and update, means you should review the agreements again and again so that you are up to date and the informations are relevant. Okay, and point number 12, you should seek legal advice from the persons, whoever you want to take legal advice while making the intellectual property rights, so that is protect the interest of the intellect, means the who has discovered the invention. Okay, so my initiative in the name of Rahul Law class provides affordable interest preparation for all exams. You can join the groups by going to the description box. Okay, and you can take the advantage. Certain courses are free, certain courses are paid. So thank you for listening and watching. Take care. Bye bye.